This video is going to show you how to make a scone based pizza. Now throughout your time in Key Stage 3 you will have already made a pizza using some leftover bread when you were in year 7, and you will make a bread based pizza when you hit year 9. In year 8 we do a scone based pizza to follow on from the scone recipe that we have already done. Now what I've done here is I've got my white self-raising flour and my margarine ready in my bowl. I haven't put my wholemeal flour in yet because I'm just hoping you're going to be able to see there's bits of bran in there, which is what increases the fibre content. So I'm actually going to make this pizza using a combination of white flour and wholemeal flour. This is what they used to do with the pizzas in school. They used to use a combination of the two. Pupils didn't even notice that there was wholemeal flour in there. And it did, as I said, increase the fibre content and just make it that bit healthier. So what we're going to do is rub the margarine into both of those flours until there are no lumps of margarine. There's not quite enough for it to go to the same consistency as it would a crumble, not enough fat for it to actually go, because that would be half the amount of fat, whereas this is a third of the amount of fat. So we're just going to rub those again together until there are no lumps. And then if you just gently shake your bowl, any lumps will actually come to the top. And again, then you can just check if those are starting to form together as dough or if there's still bits of margarine which you need to rub in. The next thing you're going to do then is start adding your milk. Now, although we've given you a quantity of milk, it may take a little bit more, it may take a little bit less. So if you add most of your milk and then start to mix it around with your table knife, and then we'll just keep adding the milk a little bit at a time until we get a dough. Now hopefully from doing your scones in a previous lesson, we won't end up with any mixtures which end up with too much liquid in them. However, if we do, then we just need to add a little bit more flour. But you can see as soon as this starts coming together as a dough, we don't need to be adding any more milk to that. So I have got some milk left over. That's not a problem. Okay, we just want to make sure that we've actually got the right consistency there. So we've got a dough. That can come out then onto our surface, which has just got a little bit of flour on. Not going to need that for too long. Just going to make sure that it's all sticking together, all staying together, so we can actually use that then to make our pizza base. So that's fine, it's not crumbling, not falling apart. So what we can do then, I'm going to get you during the lesson to use a plate, and we're just going to press the dough out to the shape of the plate. Now again, if it gets a little bit sticky while you're doing this, just put some flour on your hand and it will actually press out. I'm using what we call the heel of our hand there, just to actually get that pressed out, or using my fingertips. So we can just use, as I said, the plate to get a good round shape here. And then we're going to lift it off the plate onto our baking tray. Okay, and again, you can see in there the bits of bran, which is what makes it the wholemeal flour. You don't have to use wholemeal flour, you can do it with all white flour. But as I said, you don't really notice a difference in the taste. I actually prefer it with a bit of wholemeal in, because it just gives it that extra bit of flavour. But if you're happier just using white self-raising flour, that's fine. So I've got my greased baking tray. I should have also said at the start I have put the oven on to gas mark 6, ready for the pizza to go into. So I'm just going to lift the pizza there off the plate and pop it onto the baking tray. So very simply there, we've got our pizza base. So we just need to top that now with our tomato puree, or if you want to use tin tomatoes you can do, and our cheese. We have got some trays in school as well where you could make 4 smaller individual pizzas if you wanted to, but for the video I'm just going to show you the one large one. If you haven't had tomato puree, if you haven't been responsible for opening tomato puree before, when you take the lid off you will see that there's actually a spike there on the top of the puree. That can just puncture then through the foil onto the puree, so you can get that out. You don't need to try cutting it with scissors or knives. The lid will actually do the piercing for you. So put some puree on. You can always add a bit more if you want to. Try not to get it too close to the edges. If it gets too close to the edges, very often it does burn and goes obviously very black, which doesn't look very appealing. So try not to get it too close to the edges and just spread that evenly. Now I'm doing this with a spoon. Again, personally, I find it easier with a spoon than with one of the table knives. But again, entirely up to you. If you find it easier to do that with a table knife, then you are able to use one of those instead. So as I said, just make sure that you're spreading that evenly. And again, okay, the amount that you put on there is entirely up to you. Depends how much puree you like on there. Some people I know like a lot less, and some people like a lot more. Then we're just going to sprinkle it with cheese. So as you can see, very, very simply and quickly, we have put together a very simple pizza, which hopefully, as I said, you will try and replicate at home after you've had a go at making it in school. So just going to put the cheese over there as well, make sure that that's all spread out. And then we're just going to pop that into the oven, where it will take between about 12 and 15 minutes to cook. So as I said, a very simple dish to make. Okay, so after 15 minutes you can take your pizza out of the oven, and the base should just be nice and firm to touch. It shouldn't be soggy anymore, and it should have gone a nice golden brown colour, and your cheese is obviously melted over the top. And that's how you make your scone based pizza.